Think you're strong? Think again. Meet the women who could bench press a grown man without breaking a sweat, who hunted mammoth with their bare hands, who survived ice ages that would kill most of us in days. And today, we're meeting the most physically powerful humans who ever walked the earth, Neanderthal women. Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you loved uncovering this truth, hit that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing dives into our ancient world.
Let's go!
For too long, when we've talked about Neanderthals, we've focused on the men, the hunters, the toolmakers, the supposed brutes of prehistoric Europe. But science is revealing that Neanderthal women weren't just along for the ride. They were evolutionary marvels who redefined what it means to be human. The woman we're about to meet, Ferrassie too, had 10% more muscle mass than the average modern European male. Her grip strength matched today's Olympic climbers, and she lived in a world that would challenge every assumption we have about gender roles, survival, and human capability. This isn't just another story about prehistoric life. It's about discovering that some of the most remarkable humans who ever lived happened to be women. Women whose strength, intelligence, and resilience helped our species survive the harshest conditions Earth could throw at them. So let's meet the powerhouses history forgot. To understand just how different Neanderthal women were, we need to start with the bones. And these bones tell a story of power that would make a bodybuilder jealous. Take Ferrassie too, discovered in a French cave in 1909. This isn't just any fossil, it's our window into what peak human physical performance actually looked like. Her arm bones show massive muscle attachment points, ridges and bumps where incredibly powerful muscles once anchored. Modern forensic analysis suggests she carried about 165 pounds of pure muscle on a 5'3" inches frame. That's not just strong for a woman of any era, that's stronger than most men who've ever lived. But here's what's truly mind-blowing. This wasn't unusual. Across Europe, every female Neanderthal skeleton we've found tells the same story. Gibraltar 1, the Taban Cave woman, specimens from Spy Cave in Belgium, all built like ancient Arnold Schwarzeneggers. Their bones were 20 to 30% denser than ours. We're not talking about slightly more robust. We're talking about bones so thick and strong they look like they belong to a different species entirely. Grip strength analysis based on their hand bones suggests they could generate crushing forces comparable to modern rock climbers and gymnasts. Athletes who trained their entire lives for that specific strength. Their shoulders were broader, their rib cages deeper, their pelvises wider and more stable. Every aspect of their anatomy screams built for power. But this wasn't just brute strength. These women averaged 5'2" inches to 5'5", not giants, but compact powerhouses with incredibly efficient leverage systems. Their shorter forearms and lower legs gave them mechanical advantages that would make an engineer weep with joy. To put this in perspective, imagine if Hafthor the Mountain Bjornsson from Game of Thrones was compressed into a 5'4" inches package but kept all his relative strength. That's approaching what we're dealing with when we look at Neanderthal women. This wasn't adaptation gone wrong. This was evolution creating the ultimate survival machine for Ice Age Europe. But the question remains, what were they doing with all that strength? For decades, we assumed prehistoric gender roles looked like 1950s America. Men hunt, women gather, everyone stays in their lane. Neanderthal women are shattering that assumption like they probably shattered mammoth bones. The evidence is written in their bones, literally. Female Neanderthal skeletons show the same pattern of injuries we see in their male counterparts. Broken ribs from close encounters with large prey. Healed arm fractures from hunting accidents, wear patterns on their joints consistent with throwing spears and wielding heavy tools. This isn't circumstantial evidence, this is a smoking gun. But it makes perfect sense when you consider their world. Neanderthal groups were small, usually 15, 30 individuals scattered across territories the size of modern states. When a mammoth or woolly rhino appeared, You couldn't afford to bench half your team because of gender stereotypes. And consider the logistics. A single mammoth provided 6,000 pounds of meat, hide, and bone, resources that could sustain a group for months. But processing that much biomass required every able-bodied person working together. The Neanderthal toolkit reflects this cooperation. We find the same variety of specialized tools at sites associated with both sexes: cutting implements for butchering, scrapers for hide processing, and the sophisticated spear points that required both strength and precision to use effectively. At Abric Romani in Spain, archaeologists found evidence of organized hunting camps where both male and female remains are associated with the same tool assemblages in butchered animal bones. These weren't gender-segregated activities, they were team efforts. From a purely practical standpoint, Neanderthal women were physically capable of hunting large game in ways that most modern humans, male or female, simply aren't. Their bone density, muscle mass, and biomechanical advantages made them formidable hunters. Think about persistence hunting, the technique where humans run prey to exhaustion over long distances. With their incredible physical conditioning and robust build, Neanderthal women could have excelled at this strategy, but hunting was just one part of their remarkable story. These women weren't just strong. They were innovators, caregivers, and the backbone of complex Ice Age societies. Raw strength tells only part of the story. Neanderthal women were also innovators, healers, and the keepers of crucial survival knowledge that kept their communities alive for over 300,000 years. Remember that sophisticated birch tar technology we discussed in our previous episode? Analysis of production sites suggests this complex chemical process was likely managed by both sexes. Creating this adhesive required maintaining precise temperatures, timing multiple steps, and passing down intricate knowledge through generations. Dental calculus from female Neanderthal remains at El Sidron reveals traces of medicinal plants, chamomile, yarrow, and compounds with natural antibiotic properties. This suggests women may have been the primary healers and herbalists of their communities, roles that required extensive botanical knowledge and chemical understanding. Their tool marks on animal bones also tell stories of sophisticated resource management. Evidence suggests Neanderthal women developed advanced techniques for processing hides into clothing capable of surviving temperatures that regularly drop below -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Fire management was another crucial skill. Maintaining fires through harsh winters required understanding different wood types, banking techniques, and the physics of combustion. Archaeological evidence suggests this knowledge was transmitted through family lines, likely from mothers to daughters. Recent analysis of hand stencils in Spanish caves, those 64,000 years old artworks that predate modern human arrival, suggests many were created by women in adolescence. The size ratios of the handprints indicate a diverse community of artists, not just adult males. Perhaps most remarkably, evidence from burial sites suggests Neanderthal women played crucial roles in ritual and symbolic behavior. The famous Shanidar flower burial shows evidence of careful placement of medicinal and aromatic plants, decisions that required both botanical knowledge and symbolic thinking. Isotope analysis of their bones reveals that Neanderthal women often traveled between groups, likely for mating purposes. This means they were cultural ambassadors, carrying technological innovations, genetic diversity, and social knowledge between communities separated by hundreds of miles. They weren't just physically powerful, they were the information superhighway of Ice Age Europe, connecting isolated groups and ensuring the survival of crucial knowledge across vast landscapes and thousands of years. The obvious question: why were Neanderthal women so incredibly strong? The answer lies in a perfect storm of genetics, environment, and evolutionary pressure that created humans unlike any who came before or since. First, consider their world. For 300,000 years, Neanderthals lived through some of the most extreme climate variations in human history. Ice ages that lasted tens of thousands of years, followed by brief warm periods, followed by more ice ages. This wasn't just cold. We're talking about environments where survival meant competing with cave bears, lions, and hyenas for shelter. Recent genetic analysis reveals that Neanderthals had variations in genes controlling muscle development, bone density, and metabolism. Specifically, they had different versions of genes like ACTN3, the so-called speed gene, and myostatin regulators that control muscle growth. But here's what's fascinating. These genetic variations weren't random mutations. They were adaptations refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Each generation that survived passed on genes that made their children stronger, more robust, and better adapted to their harsh environment. From a metabolic perspective, maintaining that much muscle mass required incredible caloric intake. Estimates suggest Neanderthal women needed 4,000 calories per day just for basic survival. In an environment where every calorie had to be earned through hunting or gathering, only the most efficient muscle-building genetics would have survived. Their bone density wasn't just genetics, it was also activity-driven. Modern studies showed that the type of stress Neanderthal bones experienced from their daily activities would trigger bone remodeling that creates incredibly dense, strong skeletal structures. Hormone analysis of bone chemistry suggests Neanderthal women had different testosterone to estrogen ratios than modern women, which would have promoted the development and maintenance of their incredible muscle mass. This created a positive feedback loop. Stronger parents had stronger children who survived better, who had stronger children over hundreds of thousands of years. This relentless selection pressure created women who were essentially biological super soldiers. So what happened to these remarkable women? Why don't we see these levels of strength in modern humans? The answer involves the same climate volatility that created them. Around 40,000 years ago, Europe experienced one of the most severe climate fluctuations in recent geological history. Ice sheets advanced and retreated rapidly, fragmenting habitats and making the large game that Neanderthals specialized in hunting increasingly scarce. But here's the remarkable part. They didn't simply disappear. Genetic analysis confirms that Neanderthals interbred with incoming Homo sapiens populations. That means their strength-building genes didn't vanish. They became part of us. If you have European or Asian ancestry, 1 to 4% of your DNA comes directly from Neanderthal women like Ferrassie 2. Those genes influence everything from your immune system to your muscle fiber composition to your bone density. Some researchers suggest that certain athletic advantages in modern populations, like the exceptional grip strength of some rock climbers or the bone density of elite weightlifters, might be echoes of our Neanderthal inheritance. But their legacy extends beyond genetics. The tool technologies, survival strategies, and cultural innovations developed by Neanderthal women became part of the toolkit that allowed humans to colonize every environment on Earth. In a very real sense, every time we see a woman excelling in physically demanding roles, whether it's firefighting, rock climbing, or competitive athletics, we're seeing an echo of capabilities that Neanderthal women perfected hundreds of thousands of years ago. They weren't evolutionary dead ends. They were pioneers who helped write the genetic and cultural blueprint for human success. Ferrassie 2 and her sisters represent something we've lost in our modern understanding of human potential. They remind us that strength isn't about conforming to contemporary expectations. It's about adapting to challenges and thriving despite impossible odds. These women hunted megafauna, created sophisticated technologies, developed medical knowledge, and maintained cultural traditions across hundreds of thousands of years. They were artists and innovators, healers and hunters, mothers and explorers. Their story challenges every assumption we have about gender, strength, and human capability. They prove that there's no single way to be human. And that some of the most remarkable humans who ever lived were women whose strength would humble us today. When we look at the bones of Neanderthal women, we're not just seeing fossils, we're seeing the legacy of powerhouses who helped shape what it means to be human. Their strength lives on in our genes, their innovations in our culture, and their story in our understanding of what humans can achieve. In the end, they weren't just strong women of their time. They were some of the strongest humans of all time.